Hey there, patrons. Here we are with September's Q&A video. This month you guys asked me a ton of really great questions, and I would love to just answer them all, but I do need to try and keep these videos a little bit manageable and make sure that we have enough content from month to month. So if I don't get to your particular question this month, please feel free to just ask it again in next month's thread, and I'll just try and work through them all. I really enjoy answering your questions, and I definitely want to get those answers out to you. So Tyler Vilhauer asked if I'm happy with how the new Ethan and Lucas storyline is going these days. That one's a very interesting question because I am and I'm not. What I am really happy about how the storyline is going. I like what I've done, and more than that, I like where the road I'm on and where I get to go with it. I have all these ideas in this roadmap for like all these things in these future issues, all these villains, all this really cool stuff that we haven't gotten to yet. Which kind of brings me to what I'm not entirely happy about, and that is how often I'm able to actually put that content out. In between everything else, with like the other series that I run, the regular responsibilities to the site and all these other projects and stuff, I just don't create new issues of Analog and D-Pad as often as I would like to see them. I really wish I was able to manage getting these out faster. So that might be something I look into after I complete issue 5, which I kind of have in my head that I would really like to do the first 5 issues entirely myself. The end of issue 5 gets us to a really interesting place, and then for the next whatever the next set of issues, I may look into acquiring some help with some more of the artistic side of things. If that provides me the opportunity to spend more time writing scripts and having somebody else help me out with more of the artistic side of things, I may be able to find a balance where I'm able to put those out more often than I am now. But otherwise, yeah, I'm really happy with the groundwork I've laid. I would just like to be able to do it more often. And to be fair, that's I can say the same of like the Starcaster Chronicles. I wish that I was able to do that more often, just because I love that series so much. Unfortunately, it just comes down to there's only so much time in a given day, and there's just a lot of things that I have to do. So Troy asks, of all my storylines, my different series, if I had to pick only one to continue with and cancel the rest, which one would I pick? And also, which one would be the easiest to cancel? So this was actually a little bit of a difficult question, because certainly I don't want to see any of those series go away. I enjoy them all for different reasons, but if in some fictional place where someone told me I could only do one of them and I had to get rid of the rest, I think the one I would settle on is the Starcaster Chronicles. And like I said, that's not an easy decision, but the reason I come to that decision is because in the Starcaster Chronicles, literally everything about it is at my whim and fancy, and the edges of my creativity, basically. Like, I can develop all of the rules for that world, for that universe. Like, I can decide what species there are and why, how different mechanics and machinery works. I mean, it's just all because it's science fiction, and it's just pretty much anything I can come up with. Like, there are very few boundaries in that, which provides me with a lot of freedom from a storytelling perspective, and a little bit of ease from a storytelling perspective as well, because you can always theory craft and come up with reasons for this to do that and that sort of thing. Whereas on the flip side, as much as I love the Analog and D-Pad stuff, they function within a mostly realistic world, so there are some boundaries and some things that have to stay, related to our actual world within that. So there isn't, there's still a lot of flexibility and freedom, because again, I have superhero people running around in this world, so that lets me break a lot of rules. But other things like, they're in a city, so buildings have to look a certain way, and they have to look like, like humans design the buildings, that sort of thing. Whereas, if I go to a new planet in Starcaster, I can just draw whatever I want. I can draw crazy stuff and say that's the visual style for this city on this planet, and that's how this this species their architecture works, that sort of thing. So So yeah, so I would choose the Star. If I had to choose one, I would choose the Starcaster Chronicles. And the easiest one to see canceled, again, this is by a very narrow margin because none of them would be particularly easy to see canceled. But I would actually go with the Console Wars. And I know that that's going to seem a little strange because the Console Wars is something that a lot of people really enjoy, and so do I. But I would choose that one as the easiest to see canceled because that's the series in which I have the least amount of freedom. I have the least amount of creative control because it's directly based off of what's happening in the news. Sometimes I can play with that a little bit, but mostly I'm at the whim of what is happening with the consoles and their various announcements and upgrades and all that sort of stuff. So it's very fun to translate that stuff into a comic strip and into a that series, but it also there are gaps in time where I don't do console war strips because there's just nothing interesting happening with consoles that warrants that sort of translation. So that's why if I had to say that one would be the easiest to see gone, it would be that one. I want to answer Edward Cullum's question really quick. Edward asks, do I have any plans to change the patron reward tiers to something that is more manageable and something that we would rather have? And so I'm not really sure exactly how to answer that. Unfortunately, I'm going to end up answering this with another question along the lines of like, what exactly do you mean? Like, what is it that I offer that you don't love, and what would you rather see me doing? Because I'm absolutely always open to feedback from you guys about the value you feel you're receiving from the reward tiers. If there's anything I could add to additional reward tiers or anything like that, I'm definitely always open to hearing from you guys. What I could be doing that you would like to see, and then of course I could take that and look at my schedule and see, like, does that work? Can I make that? Can I fit that in and that sort of stuff? So. Definitely let me know if there's something you'd like to see me doing differently, or something that if the majority doesn't really like one aspect of the reward tiers, then it doesn't make sense to continue doing it. I can definitely rearrange things, but I need the feedback from you guys to do so. And finally, this month I'm going to answer Harold Wong's question. Harold has a new baby on the way, his first, so congratulations, Harold. And he asked me if I had one tip to give to new parents, what would it be? That one is tough to narrow down. But I guess I would say try to accept how little control you have. You're basically bringing a person into the world who is going to have their own ideas about when they want to eat, when they want to sleep, when they want to cry. And very likely will not fall into what you've imagined or be at all convenient for you. So I think one of the first steps is accepting, and I think this is going to apply again. My boys are only 3 years and 4 months old respectively, but I can already tell this is kind of going to apply forever. Is that you just have to recognize that you have a very limited amount of control as a parent. And if you can accept that to some degree, I think that the whole process of parenting and being a parent will be at least a little bit less stressful. And I know you only asked for one tip, but I'm going to go ahead and throw in another one here that I kind of try to live by. I actually swiped this from a book I saw. It's the title of a book that I saw. I didn't read the book. I didn't really feel like I needed to. It's the title kind of did it for me. So the title of the book and the saying that I kind of try to adhere to in regards to being a parent is be a gardener, not a carpenter. And so and basically what that means is, nurture and help grow what's there, but don't try to build, don't try to construct something that you want to see. Do you know what I mean? I just think that that's a really apt thought process for parenting, is that, like I said earlier, you have this child who is going to be an individual, and you should really nurture them and help them to become the best version of themselves that they can, rather than trying to fit them into a box of like what you believe they should be and that sort of thing. So again, I'm hardly I've only been at this parenting thing for going on 3 years now, so I'm hardly an expert. That's just a couple of little things that I have found to be true, of hundreds of different lessons I've learned over the last few years. So that's it for this month. I know there were a bunch of really great questions I didn't get to answer this month, but please do just ask them again in next month's thread. I would love to get to all of them and many more. So thanks for watching, and thank you for being a patron, and we'll talk next month.